Sisters as coordinator of associates and in various positions with the Catholic Diocese of Columbus, Ohio for the past 30 years. She is a graduate of Nurturing the Call, a spiritual guidance program. And Nurturing the Call has the radical conviction that spiritual companionship is a form of prayer, and that contemplative listening comes from being grounded in one's relationship with God. Anita is also someone that holds an MA in clinical psychology and a BA in parish ministry, both from Loras College in Dubuque, Iowa. Anita serves on the staff of the Shalem Institute's Spiritual Guidance Program. One thing that Anita would have said if she was here was what a great influence that Anita has been to her. And she uses the famous story of Tom Cruise from Jerry Maguire, if you're familiar with that movie that came out in the late 90s. But there's a famous line within that movie where Jerry Maguire, Tom Cruise, is speaking to his wife, and they've had some issues and they're trying to reconcile. And he's sort of going overboard, trying to win her back. And she stops him and says, "Shut up. You've had me at hello. You've had me at hello." And that's how Anita felt with her becoming a Dominican, is that the Dominicans had Anita at hello. Hello, Anita, and welcome.
Thank you, Connie Barbara.
You're welcome.
Sorry about that. Trying to adjust so that I don't have it in front of my face too much. I'd like to share with you one thing. You all were supposed to share something exciting that happened for your associates around your table. So the divine sign, probably. Okay, I'll hold it. I get it. That's all right. I'll use it as a cane. So, one of the things that happened after Connie wrote the introduction to me is that I get to be part of a really important thing that happened for the Dominican Associates of Peace. About a month ago, I began as part of a 3-person pastoral care team at the healthcare center run by the Dominican Sisters in Columbus. 3 associates ministering to the sisters on the pastoral care team. This position has never been held by anybody but a sister. Wow. So this is like, wow. Yes! So that's our exciting thing, and I am very honored to be part of that team. And I'm the youngest of the 3, so you know we're not spring chickens. And the other 2 have been associates. Well, one was a Dominican sister of Blauvelt, New York, before she became an associate of the Dominican Sisters of Peace. So she's been a Dominican long before I have, and the other one has been, I always say Susan was an associate the day after God was born. So, the 3 of us are very, very excited about this development, which is really, I can't even tell you how significant this is. The executive director of the healthcare facility is also an associate.
Wow. Yes. Right.
So, I'm here to talk to you about charism. And I need my prop.
My other prop.
So drums, as we prayed with today, drums have long been used to call people together. That was one of the things that we talked about this morning in the prayer. So in the military, in African tribes, in Native American culture, high school and pep bands, marching bands, there's something primal about the sound of the beating drum. It's symbolic of our heartbeat. It's symbolic of the heartbeat of the earth. It unifies in a way that nothing else can. It keeps marchers, dancers, musicians, cheering fans in time with one another. And it brings along all those who hear it, whether they're participating or not, because they can't help it. Studies have shown that our bodies will begin to synchronize with the rhythm of the drum whenever we hear it, or to the music that we're hearing. So when you hear music, you'll often find yourself tapping your foot, tapping your fingers on the table, clapping. It's a natural instinct, and you can't help it. Even if you force yourself not to, you're still doing it. When you're given an opportunity to play any kind of a rhythmic instrument, even if you've never played it before, you will, as long as you can hear the mother drum, instinctively synchronize to that beat. So whether it slows up, speeds up, you go with it. It's natural. Here's another interesting fact. When you sing with a choir or a congregation, you know how you breathe about the same time? Your heartbeats also synchronize with each other. Studies have been done with those machines that they do, putting EKG machines on people when they sing. Their heartbeats synchronize. Singing is good for you. It literally brings people into unity, just like the beating of a drum. So, the phenomenon is called entrainment. Entrainment. There's lots of definitions for it in science. In this kind of bioscience, it's about how heartbeats synchronize and breathing synchronizes. Now, if you're given a choice to play an instrument you've never been playing before, as I said, you'll synchronize. As long as you can hear this sound to the mother drum, you will synchronize. So, at your table are a whole bunch of fun things to play. So pick them up. There are shakers, guiros, that's the wood scraper with the stick. There are shape drums. No matter what rhythm you play, you'll always be in time with the mother drum. Whether I speed up, people down the hall are wondering what the heck is going on over there. Oh, I love to have that kind of control. So, welcome to the world of rhythmic music. Do you remember when you first heard the drum beat of your congregation? Perhaps it was just one of many drum beats in your awareness. The mercy drum might have been beating, or the Benedictine drum, or the Maryknoll drum. For me, it was the Sisters of St. Casimir drum. My aunts tried to convince me I needed to be a member of their Lithuanian order from the day I was born. The drum beat that got your attention was your charism, the charism of the order that you come here today representing. It's that steady, dependable foundation of the Sisters and Associates of the Ursulines of Youngstown, of the Notre Dames, the Incarnate Word and Blessed Sacrament, of the Humilities of Mary, of the Charities of Nazareth, or the Dominicans of Peace. Something about that charism touched a place deep inside you, and your heartbeat began to beat along with it. Parker Palmer says this: I understand vocation not as a goal to be achieved, but as a gift to be received. Discovering vocation does not mean scrambling towards some prize just beyond my reach, but accepting the treasure of true self I already possess. Vocation does not come from a voice out there calling me to become something I am not. It comes from a voice in here, calling me to be the person I was born to be, to fulfill the original selfhood given me at birth by God. It's from his book, Let Your Life Speak. Something about your congregation's charism expressed the person that each of you was born to be. What was it? I remember clearly the moment I became aware that I was drawn into the Dominican mother drum. I had been in the discernment process for prospective associates for a few months. When I started, I wasn't sure what the difference was between one order or any other. Frankly, the difference between nuns was the kind of habit they wore when I was growing up. I had no idea that there was a difference between the Dominicans and the Mercies and the Sisters of St. Casimir, except their clothes. But this one particular evening, some Dominican sister who was speaking said something. I don't even remember what it was. And all of a sudden, I was enveloped in this warm, comforting feeling, this sense of home. I said to her after the session, now I know that I have been Dominican all my life. I never had a word to put to it. Never knew what to call it, except what my ex-husband called crazy, because that's what he thought I was. At age 44, I had finally found my true spiritual tribe. And in the 22 years since, Yep, that means I'm 66, I'll do the math for you. That deep sense of belonging has only grown deeper. I was born a contemplative preacher. And this group of vowed religious women shared and even celebrated the same identity. Who knew? I mean, seriously, who'd have thunk it? But there was in me this deep, what a sense of relief, blessed relief for this homeless traveler. Finally, I could hear the mother drum. That beat set the pace for my life. We change and we grow, and different things become important to us. The mother drum beat remains constant. Dominicans will be Dominicans forever. The charism will always be to contemplate and to give to others the fruits of our contemplation. It's been so since St. Dominic, and it will be long into the future. I will be different, and so will every other member of the congregation. In a while, I'll be inviting you to read your congregation's charism or mission vision statement or chapter commitments, again, to yourselves, not out loud. And I'm going to invite you to notice a word or a phrase that shimmers for you now. And think about whether or not it's the first thing that drew you to your congregation. But for now, I'm going to read a few lines from each of your documents. And you can get these. If you didn't bring them with you, use your smartphone, Google your website, it's on there. With the exception, I'm sorry to say, of the Ursuline sisters who do not have it on their website. I had to get it from one of your members. So, see if you can recognize your own. Notice what resonates in these statements. I'm not going to tell you whose they are until the end. Our sisters and associates are committed to work for justice in solidarity with oppressed peoples, especially the economically poor and women, and to care for the earth. To fulfill our mission, we commit ourselves with the church as individuals and as a community to embrace the diversity of all peoples, work with others to proclaim the gospel message, use our resources to meet needs, especially those of people who are poor, and do justice. No fair looking them up. I see you on that phone there, sister.
Just sharing it.
We proclaim the gospel of love and goodness by our bonding in community, our self-giving in ministry, our intimacy with the one who is our center through ever-deepening spirituality. Our call requires that we read the signs of our times and interpret them faithfully in light of the gospel. Impelled by God's own Spirit, the breath of love moving through the entire cosmos, we commit ourselves to seek truth and to speak truth in love. We honor the charism by living gospel values in vibrant communities, by promoting Catholic education, especially for women and children in urban and mission schools, and by fostering the fullness of life, especially for people who are poor, sick, and aged. The gospel challenges us to bring justice and a special concern for the poor and disadvantaged. We do so steeped in the values of hospitality, respect, compassion, and hope. Do you recognize your own? Okay, I'm going to test you. The first one. Our sisters and associates are committed to work for justice and solidarity with oppressed. Anybody want to claim that one? With oppressed peoples, especially the economically poor and women, and to care for the earth. Who?
Sisters of Charity and Master.
That is correct. Ding, ding, ding. To fulfill our mission, we commit ourselves with the church as individuals and as a community. To embrace the diversity of all peoples, work with others to proclaim the gospel message, use our resources to meet needs, especially those of people who are poor, and do justice.
Humility, Mary.
Correct. You win. Humility of Mary.
Should know.
You should know. That's right. It'd be sad if you were a Dominican and said that. I recognize that's a humility bit. We proclaim the gospel of love and goodness by our bonding in community, our self-giving in ministry, our intimacy with the one who is our center through ever-deepening spirituality. Who's that? Anybody claim it? It's a nice one. Come on. No? What do you think I put a ringer in there? It's the incarnate word in Blessed Sacrament. Well, that came from your website. So, our call requires that we read the signs of our times and interpret them faithfully in light of the gospel. Anybody? Want me to read the rest of it? Because there's a word in there that's going to get you, I know that. It's the Dominicans of Peace.
That's what I thought.
Impelled, this is the word, impelled, it's like in everything we get in the mail. Impelled by God's own Spirit. And it also says we commit ourselves to seek truth, which is
Yeah, that wouldn't be.
the truth thing, you know, we get the corner on the market of truth, just out of the Inquisition. Not a high moment of our history. We honor the charism by living gospel values in vibrant communities, by promoting Catholic education, especially for women and children, in urban and mission schools. I'm waiting. And by fostering the fullness of life, especially for people who are poor, sick, and aged.
Sounds like Notre Dame.
Yeah, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Everybody knows this one? Who are the Notre Dames among us?
Here we are.
Okay, everybody knew that as Notre Dame. How about that? The gospel, now by virtue of elimination, the gospel challenges us to bring justice and a special concern for the poor. Yeah. So it's interesting. This is just a little side of completely off script, but one of the things that I did when I was working for the associate's office was, because I worked for Columbus and Akron, I did that 2-hour drive a lot. And I brought sisters with me a lot and heard stories that I'm pretty sure I'm the only person who ever heard. And I mostly heard them over and over and over again. But interestingly, many of them were not drawn to the congregation by the charism. These are older sisters. 2 of them were left at the doorstep of the sisters and had no choice.
Oh, wow.
Saddest stories I've ever heard.
Oh,
So they wound up staying because, you know, back in the day, we women did not have a lot of choices. Secretary, nurse, teacher, none. Did I? Yeah, I think that was pretty much it. Or wife and mother. Yeah. So these statements would not have rung true with any of them necessarily. And I don't know about you, but I was destined to be a Mercy. I was taught by Mercy sisters from the time I was in 2nd grade, literally until I got my master's degree. So, but they didn't catch me. Anyway, so each of us in this room, and each person in each of your congregations and all the congregations out there, each of us lives out the charism of our congregations in different ways, each individual person. Just as the instruments and the rhythms are different responses to the same drum beat. And it enriches the sound. uniformity is not what we are about, right? So each instrument sounds different, the rhythm varies just as we all do, but the charism, the mother drum, holds us together. It calls us back to the foundation always. There it should. We are synchronized with it. And we live out the charism in our everyday lives in that synchronization with the mother drum beat in myriad ways that expand and enrich not only our congregations, but all of God's people, and those parts of God's creation that we touch. Not just in our missions as the sisters have, or at least that's what they call it in Dominican life. The sisters go out on mission. For associates, it's wherever we are. It's in our families. It's in our workplaces, whether it's be an office or a hospital or we collect trash. We bring our charism to wherever we are. How do we hear and recognize God's call to that mother drum? How do we hear that mother drum beat? How do we recognize it as the mother drum beat for us? How do we sort that sound out, that mother drum, from amidst all the other noise that vies for our attention? Mostly louder than the mother drum. For me, it's a visceral thing. I feel it in my gut. You might feel it someplace else in your body. Just using myself as an example. I feel it in my gut when I know it's the right place, the right drum beat. When I become aware of my mother drum beat, my whole body knows because my gut feels it. I can't help but respond. It might just be tapping a foot, doing some little thing. It might be drumming my fingers, something that's perhaps somewhat more obvious. Or maybe I'll pick up a whole new instrument, like being a member of a pastoral care team. Make a completely different sound that synchronizes with the mother drum. This is a rhythm I've never played before. One can never tell what response the mother drum might evoke in any one of us. But this much I know, as Frederick Buechner said, the place God calls you to is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet.
Can you repeat that, Anita, please?
The place God calls you to is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. For me, when I got a call about a job that had been posted for a long time on the website of the Dominican Sisters of Peace for a pastoral care person, I ignored it because it was a 24-hour-a-week job, and I couldn't do a 24-hour-a-week job with meeting with spiritual directees, with leading retreats, and my work with the spiritual guidance program at Chilean. Besides, I have a husband who does like to see me on occasion. And so it was a no-brainer. And I got a Facebook message from the administrator of Moen Healthcare Center saying, just in case you didn't see this, we'd like you to consider it. And I Facebook messaged her back and said, I don't have CPE and I can't do 24 hours a week. And she said, we'd like to have a conversation with you. So I had a conversation. I went in and had a conversation with her. And I said, I told you I can't do 24 hours a week. And she said, well, we're talking about doing this as part of a team. This is a whole new idea. And there are 2 others. And I went, oh, really? 24 hours divided by 3 is 8. I could do 8 hours a week. And the decision was made. That's all it took. I mean, I did have to ask Dennis, but, it was done. And then when I met with the other 2 team members, whom I've known for decades, we were discerning together, is this something we can do? And, it was like, well, what about Christmas? And we travel at Thanksgiving and blah, 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 blah. And, we started doing all the nuts and bolts of it. And I said, you know what? They need us. Our sisters need us in this place. My husband spent 4 weeks there in rehab after surgery. The associates that are there need us. And it's 8 hours a week, ladies. Are we going to do this or are we not? And we said, we're doing it. Because the world's deep hunger met in the place where we had deep gladness. The joy of serving with and for our sisters and fellow associates. So that's what it was for me most recently. A different instrument that I picked up. Where is it for you? That's where you're going to take your charism next. Wherever that is. That's how you're going to be living out your congregation's mission in the future. What kind of a new sound or a new rhythm might you be making? Isn't it exciting to think about the future and where it's all going and how things might be not the same old, but something new and sound different and look different? The mother drum is calling each of you. How are you going to respond? Listen. So, we're going to begin this day on an individual level. From now until 10:30, which is 35 minutes, I'm going to invite you to spend time by yourselves in quiet. I don't know what it's like outside. You could walk if you wish. But in your folders, there are questions to kind of guide you. And if it's helpful, fine. If it's not, that's okay too. But I'm going to invite you. This is where your congregation's statement, your mission statement, your charism statement, your vision statement, your chapter commitments, whatever your document is called, to read it again. These things get written, and I don't know about your congregations, but Dominicans fight over every frickin' word. I don't like that word. I think we need to change this one. Yeah. Sisters, come on. It's a word, but every word matters. So somebody worked really hard to craft this. It's crafted. It shows up maybe on letterhead. It shows up on a website. It shows up, and then people forget it. This is the heartbeat, literally the heartbeat of your congregations, of our congregations. We need to pay attention to it. So I'm inviting you to pay attention to it today. What word or phrase, as you read those documents today, what shimmers for you? What jumps out at you? What's the that hits you today? And then think about when you first became a member of your congregation. Does that sound like what it was then? If so, what insights might that provide for your vocation as a vowed member or as an associate? And if not, what's different What insights might that provide into your own call, your own rhythm, your own instrument? And to what does that new word, today's word, call you to? Where is the world's deep hunger meeting your deep gladness? When you look at those words. So you have until 10:30, and then I gotta look at the thing.
We
You're
have a
taking
break.
a break.
Great.
So you'll actually be coming back here at 10:45, and I'm gonna invite you then to sit with your congregation members. So, just saying. All right?